These two individuals will share their COVID-19 experience and what they learned during their 2 weeks of illness and care. They will explain their individual perspectives from the patient and from the caregiver.
I have already experienced having COVID 19. I was getting ready to fly to visit my family the next week, and then I was diagnosed with COVID 19. So, really, I was stuck at home. That was very emotional for me because I hadn't seen my family in 1 year. I ended up canceling my trip. Actually, it hadn't been quite a full year, closer to 8 months, but I'm very close with my nephew, so that was a long time. Anyways, it was very emotional. So I was sick for 2 weeks, and it felt very personal to me in some areas. Hmm, how did I get sick again? I had been working all day and night, and when I got home in the afternoon, I realized I was feeling kind of funny, not normal. I didn't know why. One of our roommates left to go see some friends, and I was asking my other roommate if they smelled something too. They said they would burn some incense to get rid of the smell, but at that time, I didn't realize that I couldn't smell anything. So I just felt scared inside because I wasn't feeling well. So I just felt scared inside because I wasn't feeling well. That night, my workplace let me know that the boss was sick. I got nervous thinking that I needed to take a test. The next day, I started letting people know that it was possible that I have COVID 19 and that I maybe have exposed people that I was around as well. Another day went by and I was feeling worse, so I decided to take a test that confirmed that I did have COVID. This was an in home test, but one of my bosses told me they wanted me to go to CVS for a formal test. So I go to CVS and it was closed. I felt so frustrated and I still was not feeling good. Really, I was feeling awful. So I decided to go to urgent care. I sat there and waited for about an hour until finally I was just overwhelmed and decided to leave. That's when I decided to contact my doctor. I already had an appointment set up with them, not for a COVID 19 test, but to make sure I was in good health for my travels. So I contacted them to say I had taken a home test for COVID 19 and that it came back positive. So I needed to come in for an official test as proof for my job. They understood and said that I should come in for the test and that I would need to wear a mask. So I went there, took the test, and it was confirmed that I do have COVID 19. I let my boss know as well. I was trying to think of what we could do. My son was staying downstairs, and I told him that he would have to get out of the basement. He could move upstairs to the guest room. I told him to get whatever he was going to need from downstairs, gather it up, and move it upstairs. I was feeling pretty anxious, and really, I was just trying to calm down. So I decided to ask Ash, "What do you need?" She said she was doing okay. But just by looking at her, I could see she was pale. We were both discussing and agreed that we would leave things on the stairs as a neutral space. I came up with a list of things that were needed and headed to the store. I went shopping and brought everything back home. We both put on gloves and a mask and kept our distance from each other. In trying to communicate, we decided to video call each other through FaceTime. Well, actually, it was Facebook video call. I don't have an iPhone. The next day, Ash realized there were some other things that she needed. So I gave up my time to make lists and went to the store 3 times. I noticed Ash was sleeping, so I made some food and gave it to her, but she said she couldn't taste anything. She was complaining over and over about it, and I just was nodding along with it. I told her to just give it to me and to keep going for 2 weeks. After that time, I was still testing negative. I really had to follow the rules to stay safe. Wow, it was tough. I noticed every 2 or 3 days I'll have different symptoms. First, I was feeling very dizzy and I had vertigo. I also had a runny nose. I would drink a lot of tea. Then, every 2 to 3 days, different symptoms would show up. First, it was the headaches and dizziness, then runny nose, then the loss of taste and smell, and then my stomach was bothering me. And you were very tired. Yes, you're right. You were exhausted. You were sleeping a lot. I would bring you water and tea. I bought a teapot too, and many options of flavors of tea so that it was always ready. JC never got sick. Mike never got sick. Her son never got sick. That made me feel very relieved that I didn't spread it to them. Oh, yes, that's funny. I was nearing my 14 days being done, and I decided to take another COVID-19 test. My bosses said that I needed to get back to work. At that time, we had 4 managers, 2 that had already been exposed to COVID-19 and 2 that hadn't been exposed. They told me that I needed to go work with the ones that had already been exposed, but I didn't want to get sick again. I definitely felt more paranoid at that time since COVID-19 was still so new to us. They told me that if I took a test and proved that I was negative, I have to come back to work. So I said fine, and I took another test, but it was still positive. But I was feeling so much better. And then you discussed it with a nurse. Ah, yes, right. So I went to my work and talked with one woman who was very nice and sweet. I can't remember her name, but she interpreted for me. I asked questions to a nurse at my group home where I worked. The nurse said that you can test COVID-19 positive for up to 3 months. I was shocked, but they said, yep, that's true. I replied with how interesting that was and asked if I could still spread COVID-19 if I was positive. The nurse said that the most spreading of COVID-19 is in the first 14 days. After that time frame, you typically can't spread it anymore. But she said if symptoms show up again, you need to stay home again too. So that was something new to learn. After 14 days, I was finally able to go outside again. The next day, I went back to work again, and wow, was I still fatigued, just exhausted. Really, I remember feeling fatigued like that for about a month before feeling my normal energy again. No, for a long time, nope, I couldn't taste anything. For about 6 months? No, longer than that. Trying to think here. Around 10 months in the fall time? Yes, around that. That's how long it took to go back to normal again. But then I got COVID-19 again. But it wasn't as severe. It was super short. I did still feel sick, but the first time I felt so horrible for 2 weeks. And the second time, it wasn't so bad. I could taste and smell fine. It's a little bit funny, do you remember? I couldn't taste or smell for about 10 months, and then I specifically remember being able to, and then I couldn't again, and it would just kind of go back and forth. But really, when Ash was going through COVID-19, she would just lay there. I would go and check on her every half hour or hour to make sure that she hadn't suddenly gotten worse. I was just monitoring her. Some days I had no work, so it was lucky that I could stay and help her through this process. I would text her and she would text back after she woke up. We would use Facebook video again to talk. I would ask her how she's feeling and we would chat for a bit. Sometimes she would say that she couldn't come upstairs, so she would stand at the bottom of the stairs and I would stand at the top so that we could talk. I would go make something or go to the store or whatever was needed. The first few days, I was feeling really scared and worried about her and her health. I couldn't reach out and touch her or try to encourage her to get better, so it was just so hard to just sit there and watch her like that. I took care of the dogs for her too, for those 2 weeks. When she was finally improving and getting healthier, I was encouraging her to eat as much as she could, but to be careful. Some days it was good and other days it wasn't. Really, the bottom line came down to your taste can be gone for a long time. It's on a range, really. And the same goes for your smell as well. Another important thing is that you get whatever medicines that you need and that you take them as much as possible. It's also not a good idea to be alone that whole time. You need someone there for support and to provide the positives in the situation, giving them encouragement. It's really important. Something else to expect is that, the person will be upset, angry, frustrated, having the feeling of, why me? Whatever emotion. You just need to ignore it. Allow that person to vent and let it pass for now. After she was healthy again, I told her all these situations and she was shocked. She said she didn't mean to do that, but I told her it was okay not to worry about it. When I was sick, my head was so fuzzy. All I could think about, was my pain and feeling tired and thinking all of the feelings inside my body. So when she told me about those situations, I just said, "What? I really said that?" Because I couldn't remember. One thing that I'm thankful for is that JC was here to help me. All of my family lives on the East Coast, so I'm all alone here. The first day that I got sick with COVID-19, I was thinking about how I was going to get food or drinks or anything else that I needed. I didn't want to bother anyone. I was just going to keep to myself and, figure out a way myself. But she was ready to help me. She went to the store for me. She brought me many fruits and vegetables, things to help my body heal. So I was very thankful for her helping me for those 2 weeks. Wow. Really, looking back on her experience, it impacted me because I thought about taking care of myself. And if I got sick with COVID-19, I would be prepared. I realized that I would need someone for support too, and I could plan ahead. So, whatever happens, I knew that I would be ready. Then I had all that information ready because I saw her experience. I was not prepared. She just took over the caretaker role and moved forward with me.
Thank you to them for being vulnerable and open to share an honest story about their experience. Hopefully, you learned some tips and have a better awareness of the COVID-19 impacts. As a reminder, the COVID-19 impacts can vary greatly. Some are minimal and others more significant. It's important to monitor your health, get tested, and take concerns seriously. If you need help, ask a trusted friend or family member. Additionally, if you are asked to help, do what you can to support them. For more information, check out covid.kissasl.com.